Imagine soaring above landscapes, feeling every turn, every dive and every ascent as if you have a superpower. This isn't just flying, this is an immersive experience that connects human perception, technology and the environment in profound ways. The immediacy and intense intimacy of first-person view drone flying means that every movement and sensation you experience is directly and manually controlled by the pilot, relying solely on input or not input. It's a sense of freedom, a seamless union of intention and action, a thrilling ride. Whether soaring over mountain peaks or darting through narrow gaps, my hands tremble, my body contorts, and my heart pounds. When I fly FPV, the power and the speed create an exhilarating flow of effortless effort that energizes me. Where are you in the harvest? I have been exploring the embodied experience of piloting FPV drones to comprehend interaction with this technology from a first-person, felt perspective. In my understanding, embodiment encapsulates the lived, manifested, and situated experiences in the world through the body. This approach presents a fluid and evolving conceptual framework that highlights the potential and the procedural aspects of experience. Drawing on the seminal works of Merleau-Ponty and Don Ide, I have been investigating how the sensory experiences of a pilot meld with FPV drone technology, transforming drone flying into an embodied practice, where the drone becomes a mediator of human experiences. I think that the drone extends the concept of embodiment to include its sensorial capabilities, effectively blurring the lines between real and virtual environments. My study employs both a post-phenomenological and a perceptual lens to explore how human-drone interactions expand human experiences, to investigate realms that were once beyond our sensory reach. In the world of FPV drones, the humble workbench is where it all begins. Here, handling, making, and endless maintenance unfold as a making and prototyping practice that leads to an ever-expanding field of mastery. The workbench represents an intimate world of making, hacking, tinkering, and problem-solving. It's the foundational anchor of practice that leads to skills acquisition, mastery, and new relationships. FPV drones often fly in close proximity to obstacles such as flora and concrete, or fall victim to sudden gusts of gravity caused by parts failure and misfortune. The drone is not just a physical object, tele-operated by remote control. It's also a virtual realm, replete with miniaturized single-board microcontrollers, fiddly connections, and an array of hardware. These components, they all feature user interfaces that allow pilots to adjust every single variable, merging technology with personal touch. I focus on flight dynamics and performance. This approach to drone flying is both an art and a craft that has an entire media ecosystem focused on the structure and creative aspects of FPV drone flying. I have extended this to include a creative technologist approach in my research practice, where I have built and integrated body sensors and data capture into the workflow of my flight operations to better understand and describe body schema. Flying FPV means you're always on the lookout for awesome locations to pilot your drone. This type of seeking requires thinking about the possibilities of the environment in novel ways. It's all about what I call the aerotexture of a structure or location. It's an amalgam of three-dimensional space and intention, and it is how the agility of the drone and the skill of the pilot could combine to create new flight paths. This search, or drone-mindedness, often starts with curiosity triggers like a news story, GPS coordinates spotted on social media posting, or a location name spotted in another pilot's YouTube video. Each vignette of information is explored and expanded through an FPV drone media ecology supported by social media and geolocation tools. Once a potential flying spot is pinpointed, applications like Google Earth help to understand the geography, boundaries, access points, and give a preliminary sense of the spatial temporality involved with being there. Equipped with the information and technology, the journey continues by setting out to transform these digital coordinates into real-world flight paths. Here in Hoi An, the landscape dictates my choice in drones, much like a golfer choosing a club for a specific stroke. In this video, we will focus on two different flight operations that showcase how piloting and engagement with the environment is an embodied experience. There is no global standard for recreational drone flying, even though drones have been a part of the aviation lexicon since 1917. Instead, a regionalised patchwork of rules and regulations has been imposed on recreational use of airspace that until recently had no commercial value. If considering safety holistically, the slow-moving urban motocross of Hoi An streets has a considerably higher risk profile than any FPV drone flight operation, and makes any journey exciting. Another catalyst for drone-mindedness is curiosity in motion. The mere sight or glimpse of a potential location sparks the imagination with endless possibilities it offers for flight and exploration. When I first arrive at a flying spot, I'll always sit quietly and observe it to feel the atmospherics of the environment and begin identifying flight lines and hazards. The biggest risk here is sand and water. Once comfortable, I then begin my field notes in the form of a flight log that records data such as weather conditions, my thoughts, feelings, or any specifics about the environment or technology that I'm sensing. I also use my notes as a companion to record flight data related to the flight. The setting up of the drone gear and research kit is a ritual that I really enjoy. It allows me to touch and observe all parts of the system before committing to the flight. This is a reassuring micro-procedure that connects all the different elements together in a methodical way.
Connected.
The added research equipment of the sensors I use also includes deploying my digital device as an auto-technographic sensor in the form of a geolocator, audio and video recorder. I position it, activate it, and then power up my sensors in front of it to establish a timeline, which I refer to when analysing the flight operation. Every flight operation begins with a circuit around the location to test the video and radio link and spot hazards from the air. When this scouting is complete, I'm deloaded from having to keep an eye on the on-screen display element that shows the radio control and video transmission link, and can become present in the moment. I then make navigational decisions about what I'm going to fly around and begin exercising the drone by initiating low-risk maneuvers and sequences. As things settle in, I will then begin linking structures at the location together and let the environment dictate the maneuvers. This stepping back from the time planning of the flight produces more velocity in movements, where intuitive decision making becomes a flow that develops into a kind of aerial parkour in a volumetric space that has a sequence of maneuver, recovery, transit, maneuver. This letting go and bounding between structures and having proximity to them causes interesting reactions and actions in my body. Moments of extreme immediacy are expressed as foot shaking, elevated heart rate, and laboured breathing. Also, my upper body and my head are very mobile and track in unison with the drone's rotation when making radical direction changes. This is not a forced action, but is a synchronised feltness and a constant corporeal mobility that is sympathetic with the drone. It is this phenomenon of sensory crossovers and experiences that I have been capturing as data with my sensors mounted on my head, my body and my feet, which I combine with telemetry logs and video from the drone. When I've completed a flight, I then collect this data off the sensors and reset them for the next flight. This involves a manual downloading of SD cards and interim file storage. I also consider the flight as well. This reflection on action gives me guidance for the next flight, especially when thinking about perceived missed opportunities, like shooting a gap, or any funky flight dynamic moments, such as the wind latching on and carrying the drone through a maneuver. The upshot of this is that generally on the next flight, I'll begin to take more risk with the drone, or begin iteratively working a section of a flight line into a rhythmic velocity so that the flight performance in the volume of space becomes intensely immersive and experiences more pronounced and exhilarating. When a location is ideal for flying, I will mark it on the Spot Finder app before leaving to help other FPV pilots easily discover and enjoy the spot. Such contributions are crucial, particularly for visiting pilots who plan to bring their FPV drones on vacation to a new country. This kind of virtual signature serves as a digital signpost indicating that an FPV pilot has explored this location and left their mark. The next flight operation takes place in the same region, but with a very different environment, a different style of FPV drone, and with different intention. This next flight has all the same research processes and technology, but is in a different modality of long-range FPV. This involves a bigger 7-inch drone that has a focus on flight time and resilience of radio link. The environment here is detached from urban development and has an openness and aloneness that allows the flight path to be pre-planned. This location offers a different type of piloting experience, where the forward flight of the FPV drone is only altered by sweeping and coordinated turns. This allows the pilot to become absorbed in the colours and the patterns of the landscape. The immersion afforded by the FPV goggles, the speed of the drone, combine to liquidize the image through the FPV goggles and generate auratic sensations that are all-encompassing. A signature of this experience is corporeal stillness, where the pilot's body remains grounded and relatively mobile. I've noticed that my body takes up a tension at the beginning of the flight, which is sustained until released at the end of the flight operation, or a challenging decision-making situation emerges and breaks the spell. I think that the atmosphere at this location also has an impact. The soothing sounds of the wind through the trees at this location is a powerful audioscape that enhances the condition for an optimal experience, where time expands and compresses and the vividness of the landscape is foregrounded to the point of taking over the entire experience for a brief moment in time. This indicates that the auratic visual experience is integrated with a physiological calmness. The heart rate sensor data collected from this flight operation shows that during this experience, bodily stillness is also in tandem with a notable decrease in heart rate. This indicates that the auratic visual experience is integrated with a physiological calmness. Back at the bench, the administrative task of assembling files and uploading to cloud storage begins to support the research practice. So analysis of the FPV video and telemetry data is reinforced by the autotechnographic video. The start and run times of the sensor data files is also aligned. By using a range of software platforms, a mapping and data and video of each flight operation can be constructed. Important moments or sequences can be isolated and processed to illuminate new understandings of the embodied experience of flying FPV drones.